All right, we're good. We're good.
Okay. Shall we do it at 30?
Yeah.
Clap. I'm holding my mic with one hand. I don't know what you want.
I think we found our cold open.
With that, welcome to Bible Boys, a podcast where two ex-evangelical siblings and an ex-Catholic non-sibling watch Christian media and either praise or condemn it. I'm Aaron.
I'm Josh.
I'm Michael.
This week, Michael kicks off our 4th annual spooky season with Exorcist III. Before we learn a lot about garden shears, please be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, like and comment on our video, and follow us on Blue Sky and Twitter, I guess, at The Bible Boys, or on thebibleboys.bluesky.social, I guess.
Yeah, they've got to tighten up their @ situation over a Blue Sky. I want it to be smooth.
I like Blue Sky a lot more than Twitter, but it is embarrassing.
Hey, Michael, what the
fuck?
You didn't like this movie?
No, this one, we have 3 categories of movies for Bible Boys, and one of them's the good movies that Michael makes us watch, so we're better people. The second category is wow, that was bad, but I think it was kind of funny bad. And then they're the ones where I walk out of and I go I think I'm a worse person for having viewed this. I did not enjoy this.
Wow.
Well, strong statements from Josh right off the get-go.
I did enjoy it.
Think this was going to be our controversial pick of spooky season. We have much more controversial picks coming down the pipeline.
Well, yeah, no, I think, oh boy, I can't wait if this is already contentious, because I've watched the second one already as well, and I think that'll be a fun conversation. But yeah, no, I'm interested to see how you came down on this, Josh, because I thought it was completely fine.
I don't know if I'm gonna have a lot of scathing review, because this one went through me like stale bread. It was just in every instance I felt like it was just kind of there.
So I hadn't watched this movie before. I had seen The Exorcist, obviously, many a time, but I had avoided Exorcist II and then by nature Exorcist III because they pale in comparison to the original. But then a Instagram follower that I have been mutuals with for a long time actually posted a Letterboxd review, and they liked this movie, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off, and what better way than on this podcast?
Yeah, have you guys seen Exorcist 2?
No.
I have.
Why?
You have?
Yeah, me and my friends used to they would also make me watch scary movies because I'm a little baby. And it was we watched Exorcist and then Exorcist 2, and the energy of the room got worse when Exorcist 2 was put on. It's not good.
1 sentence summary of Exorcist 2, please.
Worse.
Wow, you did 1 word review. Excellent.
Yeah.
I do think we should watch the opening 5 minutes, though. I do think we should watch that as Bible Boys.
Just
in the Middle East.
I try to avoid us having to watch bad movies when at all possible.
That's an interesting take. That's the direct opposite of my strategy for this podcast. But I guess that's good. Somebody needs to balance this out.
Yeah, Aaron out here is trying to decide how to do the most harm.
Shall we go through the plot of this one and kind of set the scene for our listeners?
Yeah.
Please.
So it's 1990, 15 years after The Exorcist 1. Notably, this film ignores Exorcist 2, which I do as well.
Like every good third installment of a series.
Yeah, I mean, it really is so funny how this is just a trope at this point that a second film is just kind of waved away. So Priest Father Dyer and our main character, Lieutenant William F. Kinderman, reminisce about Father Damien, who, if you remember, was in the first Exorcist and actually died on the staircase that we get a cute little scene of. I'm partial to this because it highlights DC as a city and those Exorcist steps are real, and I just love that.
And for those of you that don't remember, Father Damien is the dude who kind of looks like Sylvester Stallone in the first Rocky.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's not like identical, but it's enough to be like, oh.
And like we get in this opening little scene one of the wildest things I've ever seen, just like right off the bat. This church doors fly open, a crucifix opens its eyes, and like a bunch of trash flies in.
All right, this scene ruled.
I thought it was incredible.
Did it make you guys... Okay, I'm so sorry to sidetrack after 12 seconds. Did it make you guys question what the crucifixes do in Toy Story as well?
All right. I mean, no. No, Josh.
Not at all.
I guess this is the Catholic in me coming back, but I don't think crucifixes are toys. I think it's like saying, what does the mirror do in Toy Story, right? It's a decoration. Oh my god, now I'm just thinking about the fucking like once Disney gets bought by like Peter Thiel or whatever, Elon Musk, right? When he buys Pixar and the rights to Toy Story, he's gonna make anti-woke Toy Story where it's just like various idols of different gods and saints, and it's following all of them. It's gonna be like, just like extremely, no, it wouldn't be Peter Thiel or Elon Musk. It'd be somebody like Richard Dawkins, right? It'd be one of the fucking atheists who are like, yeah, and this is gonna show you all you religionites. This'll really satirize Toy Story and make you wake up, sheeple, and it'll make like $2 million and it'll suck ass. But
it will literally be like religious iconography version of the movie Sausage Party.
Right,
Oh my
100%.
God.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
You took the words out of my mouth. Walking into a Bible bookstore and it's Sausage Party is really funny.
You want to talk about a bad movie? I'd rather watch Exorcist 3 again, like 3 more times, than watch Sausage Party again. That was a dog shit film.
That can't be the metric, Aaron. That can't be the metric.
Sausage Party, genuinely one of the worst movies I've ever seen, including almost anything we've watched on this podcast. Save for the forbidden episode of Left Behind with Nicolas Cage, because that one was also nothing. But yeah, no, Sausage Party was really, really bad. I can't get over how bad it was.
Even like the lesser God's Not Deads? Because I know you like the first one.
I like most of the God's Not Deads, like in a sick way.
How do you plural God's Not Dead?
You move the apostrophe. It's a fun grammar joke.
It worked on me.
If they did God of War, but with God's Not Dead, where it's the Norse theme.
I mean, that's kind of just what God of War 4 and 5 are, right?
Oh man, we've got 3 sentences in this recap.
Well, we've already had a crucifix opening its eyes, Sausage Party and Toy Story references. I mean, this is what the people want.
Garbage being thrown left and right.
Yep. Yeah, great subject matter for our podcast.
Yes. So then you see a scene of a man walking on the streets speaking about having a dream of, quote, falling down a long flight of steps, which we just have to assume are the steps that Father Damien fell down. And the next day, our lieutenant is called in to find the body of a young person who had his head cut off and had it replaced with a statue of Jesus, which is just wild and like told me what kind of movie we were getting. We were getting CSI The Exorcist, and as a true crime fan, I'm here for it. And this is when I figured out like, oh, I'm not going to be scared for a minute of this, but I'm so here for it.
Yeah, honestly, there are like a couple kind of scary moments in this, but honestly, it is much more like a crime procedural. I think that's a great
Yeah.
way to think about it. We did skip over one bit, which is the relationship between Father Dyer and the Bill, the police chief. Because like there's this scene where they're like, they're establishing their friendship, right? So that way that becomes more meaningful later on in the movie. But they're talking about how it's been 15 years since Damien Karras died. And they're chatting. He's talking about the dream, but he says this wild thing that he says a couple wild things. First, he says that uh the priest, I believe, says that he's seen It's a Wonderful Life 37 times,
Yes.
which is unhinged behavior. To which the police chief responds, "My favorite movie is The Fly," which excellent no sell. They
What movie have you all seen the most, and how many times has it been?
Well, we know Aaron's answer, and it makes him seem like a bad person.
Yeah, Josh, do you remember my answer?
Yes, because you have two answers. You say it's either God's Not Dead, and if that's not it, then it's Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Oh no! That Captain America: The Winter Soldier or Captain America: Civil War is probably like genuinely one of my favorite movies. Unfortunately, the actual answer to this for me is Black Hawk Down.
Yeah, I did.
Because I had it on my little iPod. When they had those little like 3-inch long iPods in the late 2000s, and I watched that on my shitty little screen at school because I thought I was going to join the military. And yeah, I've probably seen that movie 11, 12 times. I almost know all the characters' names at this point. But yeah, I don't think that movie aged well at all.
You're like a Republican senator in like 02. When was
Yeah.
Black Hawk Down? 2012? No one knows.
The movie came out in like the mid 2000s, I want to say, but the battle it's based on is 1992, 1993, I want to say.
Okay, I don't feel bad for knowing that. That was like 7 years before I was born.
Yeah.
What are we including childhood? Because if we are, it's X-Men 2 and Spider-Man 2, for sure, for the movie I've seen most.
I don't know if we can include childhood because, like, we just always had movies on.
Yeah. Then if it's adulthood, this is a weird one. It's probably Mulan.
Interesting.
I'm assuming the animated version.
Yeah, it was for whatever reason it's a breakup movie.
Oh, Josh.
So just I'm upset. Like, let's get down to business.
When will Josh's reflection show?
Okay, that's way better than my breakup movie because it's Midsommar.
Yeah, fuck off, Michael. Come on.
We're healing different traumas. Just to throw my fiance under the bus, hers is definitely Spirit, the horse movie.
Interesting.
I think that my most watched movie, though, it might actually be The Conjuring because I saw it like several times with several groups of friends in the theaters, and then I like distinctly show people that. But if not that, it's another film that we've covered, which is Jennifer's Body, which I also try to show any group of friends that will watch it.
I'm so sorry. I just realized that I think my actual real answer, because the number would be in almost triple digits, is Mr. Popper's Penguins, because my little cousins were obsessed with that Jim Carrey flick where he adopts the penguins, and they would make us play it, no joke, from the time they got to our house until their parents picked them up 9 hours later.
That does rule, actually.
They would just run around the house chanting "Mr. Popper's Penguins, Mr. Popper's Penguins" until we put it on.
That's incredible. Anyway, I also wanted to say the second most upsetting thing that there's the conversation with the priest and the policeman, and which one of them talks about the carp in the bathtub?
Oh, it's the police.
Right.
because
What is
it's yeah.
he's talking about how his like mother-in-law's coming and his wife is making some sort of like a fish, but she likes it fresh, so the carp is just swimming in his bathtub and he can't go home until the carp is asleep. And it's like, what is happening?
It is like the most insane line of dialogue that's just a reminder that this movie came out in 1990. So like the 80s cocaine was still in all the writers' rooms because
Right.
this is a cocaine line. This is one that someone's like, "Oh my God, the wife is cooking carp."
Yeah, like it seems profound, but it absolutely has no bearing on the story whatsoever. It's just an insane thing to say.
I was waiting for Chekhov's carp. Like I
Right.
really was waiting for it to matter.
Yeah, I was so disappointed.
The guy's head isn't replaced with a statue of Jesus; it's replaced with a full carp.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Um, so what is interesting about the crime scene is the fingerprints don't match, so it means that someone different is responsible for each murder. Um, this also would mean that they adopted like forensic technology remarkably ahead of time because a lot of states didn't until like the mid to late 90s. So good on you, fictional universe, using actual forensics. Uh,
See, this is the kind of shit you don't get elsewhere. Michael just knows that.
Michael's a true crime junkie. He's one of those girlies. What do you want?
and
But he was into
uh,
it before it was cool. Back when it was just women watching shows about women killing their husbands.
Well, that's fine.
it's
That's
true.
feminism.
It is. So the chief reveals to the staff that the murders fit the Gemini killer, a serial killer that was executed also 15 years ago. Um, which I have a few fun facts about the Gemini killer, but uh, he visits the head of the psych ward, and the they talk about one of the patients and that this patient had amnesia, was locked up, and then claimed to be the Gemini killer, even though, again, the Gemini killer was executed.
Do, have we talked about the MO of the Gemini killer yet?
Oh no, we should talk about that.
So yeah, so they fed the public a story about like what the Gemini killer's like calling card was, but what is the real thing that the Gemini killer like did that only the police were supposed to know, which makes everybody like really nervous?
So it's that they cut off a finger, but they fed the public it's one hand and it's the other, actually, and that they carve the symbol of the Gemini into the backs.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, no, and that's why the police chief Kinderman is like, oh no, this is serious because like nobody else but the Gemini killer knows the MO except for people in the police force,
But they
which
never
is
talk.
interesting. Yeah, no, cops never talk to anybody. They're always famously tight-lipped.
Yeah,
Right.
never will a cop come up and be like, "You want to hear some weird shit that I saw on the job?"
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the 90s. So then he visits the head of the psych ward, and he sees that the patient is actually Damien. Um, so then we see Damien's appearance change into that of the Gemini killer, which is different. Uh, and like honestly, I gotta give them credit with some of the like cinematography stuff here because it's a pretty smooth transition given that it's 1990.
I'm just going to be 100% honest with you guys. And again, this is me not being a huge fan of this movie. It was better than any Marvel TV show I have seen, period. Some of the stuff in this may be a little dated, but like it still looks decent enough.
And he then says that he killed Father Dyer. So Father Dyer dies in another kind of grotesque way and has all of his blood taken from his body without a drop of it being spilled. And It's a Wonderful Life written in blood, uh, which is again like I don't know, it like gives you this foreboding feeling that I kind of wish that filmmaking in the 90s had more use of like darkness or dim lights, or maybe this was set anywhere that wasn't a hospital with fluorescence, because it would be so creepy if there was like a panning to this and like more light being shown onto it afterwards. But it's so fluorescent and bright that it really does feel crime procedural more than spooky.
I know we goofed about it, but Michael, you are 100% right that like the carp should have come up again.
It should have somewhere. Um, so then that night, a nurse is murdered and Dr. Temple kills himself. He's the head of the psych ward. Uh, and then the police chief goes back to see Damien, who again changes into the Gemini killer. And the Gemini says that he's being aided by, quote, a master, which we are led to believe is the same demon that possessed Reagan 15 years ago.
So sorry. I'm listeners. I may have a little bit of a cold, so my brain is frazzled because my immediate response, so much so to cut Michael off mid sentence, was that the name of the vampire villain in Buffy in season 1? Uh, so I'm so genuinely sorry, Michael.
Different podcast.
That's for our Buffy talk, where we make 30-second Buffy TikTok.
So the master was, not so happy about being exorcised and getting revenge by using Damien's body to have the Gemini go on a killing spree. And then each night, the Gemini would leave that body and possess other patients and have the patients commit the murders, hence why the fingerprints were never matching up. And the Gemini also says, he, I'm the one who made Dr. Temple bring you to me. And that's not good. We can tell that something bad is going to happen.
Boys, does it frustrate you whenever you watch some of these? Because like this is an evil demon to do the most harm possible in the world, and it's in Washington D.C. and it's murdering random people. It's just like aim bigger. Like you are like a demon from an eternal war between good and evil, and this is as high as you can shoot in Washington D.C. Okay, man. Okay, amateur hour over here.
Well, it's like in the first film, they possess a little girl. Like,
Yeah.
come on now.
You were just being like we're just not using our time wisely. Oh man, I'm back at my job. Sorry.
I think this is a question of genre. I think that if you have a demon that goes and possesses a powerful political figure, you are veering into fantasy, right? Like that's a thing that happens in some Dungeons and Dragons shit, right? I think that the thing that this is horror, right? So it has to be personal, it has to be small, right? Because there's very few horror movies that are like, my presidential exorcism, right? Like that. That is an inherently silly premise. And I think that's kind of why horror has to be like personal and contained to like just everyday people, right? Because presumably that's the audience, right? It's just normies who are like, oh man, this is so scary. It's less scary when it's like, oh no, Bill Clinton. Oh, he's falling down the stairs with his saxophone. Like, it's different.
I just if you're gonna tell me demons are real, and you're also gonna tell me that they don't, like that's the Protestants have it better, that demons run the government. And they think a whole political party are demons. That's the correct way to think. If you think demons are real, then that's what you gotta think. I'm sorry, Catholics, step it up.
The
Very
Bible
boring.
Boys do not endorse the satanic panic that is presently going on in this culture.
Unless we can get a sponsorship off it, in which case our email is bibleboys666@gmail.com.
And we can change any of those numbers for the right price.
I wanted to talk about the nurse getting murdered scene. Because there's a I thought I liked that bit. That was like my favorite scare in the movie, is because like she like goes into one of the hospital rooms to like check on a patient, and then when she comes out, the camera zooms in real quick, and there's like a person with a sheet over their head and like the little clippers that comes to decapitate her. I thought that was a pretty good fake out. But like the thing that I took a screenshot of was there's like I think this is happening inside the hospital, but like there's like a scary shot before that where they're like panning around the hospital and they're looking at all of or maybe it's the church. I don't remember, but basically I'm gonna have to share my screen, and this isn't gonna appeal to anybody who's listening, but there's like a shot of a statue, right? Um, who who does this remind you of? That's the Clown Prince of Crime. That's the Joker.
Oh my god! It's like they took a Joker statue and just painted the hair.
Right? No, he even has the red lips, and like I don't know what's happening in this movie. There's so much wild shit that like it kind of endeared it to me. There's just like a priest that looks like the Joker holding a knife. It's great.
They were truly given such a green light, like there were no bad ideas, and that there's something so earnest about that.
AI can't do this shit. I'm just gonna say it. I don't even care for this movie, and I don't think AI could. There's some beautiful moments, and AI would not have found any of them.
Like, okay, there's a bit where they like add a twist to all the victims of this thing, which is that the victims' names always start with K. Uh, and then like the police chief brings up the fact that Father Dyer doesn't have a K in his name, and then they're like, oh well, his middle name was Kevin.
I forgot about
So that's why they got it.
Yep.
It's incredible.
Do you think the demon was like mulling that one over for like weeks? Like, how do we kill him? Whoa, what's his first name? Well, it doesn't start with a K. What about his middle name?
Oh god, his ass.
Dummy.
It's really good. It's really good.
Just draining him of blood, looking quickly through his wallet. There's got to be a connection here somewhere. Uh-oh.
Well, the Gemini also keeps referencing like it's almost time to dance. I like dancing, things like that. And like this was one where even when I watched it the first time, I'm like, okay, the police chief has to understand what this is, right? And no, he did not.
No. Also, a weird bit about the nurse is that they removed all her vital organs and filled her with rosaries, which is just the funniest, weirdest shit. Like, isn't that fucked up? Like, yeah, I guess. It seems like it'd be a lot of work if I'm being completely honest.
Right, like it just seems like more effort than anything. Uh like it I think that it's kind of like evoke the same feelings of like how provocative the original Exorcist was. But I think this is a rare one coming for me because I'm just not usually a huge fan of like overt gore. But I think something is lost by like telling us everything and never showing it to us.
We don't see a single person get a medical procedure done to them.
No.
And
And
that's
this one's
I mean,
even in a hospital.
Yeah.
I will say that this movie does seem to have an understanding of like Catholic like imagery about the same level that I do. Where it's a crucifix, rosary, he pisses holy water. Is that anything? Is that anything?
I mean, it's truly like Neon Genesis Evangelion shit, which is like, does it look cool? Ah, put it in there.
Yeah. Throw that shit in there. But the Gemini keeps talking about dancing, which we as an audience all know that has to do with the lieutenant's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But the lieutenant does not because he's married to his work and doesn't care about his family. So he's like running around the hospital and he like barges into the room of this little kid. The nurse berates him, and this nurse had the actress who played this nurse had the most fun of anyone else on this screen. Yelling at him was the highlight of her career. I don't care what anyone says. Like, it was iconic.
Just her going home, like, honey, I did it. I got to yell, and you should have seen them. That makes me so happy to think of. That just someone had the time of their life yelling.
And then after this is the bit where he's like looking for the lady that's possessed, right? Um, how did you feel about the scene where she evades Kinderman?
Her spider walking.
Yeah.
Um, you know, again, it's like trying to evoke what originally made The Exorcist so iconic, right? Um, it didn't work for me. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious.
I think I had the same reaction to this as I do every time in Star Wars someone says I have a bad feeling about this, where it's just like a deep guttural ugh.
Right.
And I wonder if that's just because we've been trained over the last 10 years to be like, oh, if it's a callback, it's gonna be stupid.
Yes.
Which is like, maybe in 1990 this was less like, oh yeah, they're trying to evoke the same spirit of the same thing. I don't know. Maybe callbacks have always been stupid.
Yeah, I kind of think that's where I land, is that like capturing the energy is more important than like making overt fan servicey references. Um, and I think that this reached closer to fan servicey. And we've watched a lot of horror movies here. How many spider walks have we seen? Like it's hundreds, it feels like.
Find a new way to walk.
Um, so the Gemini possesses an old woman who calmly sits in the taxi and like caresses her bag, which I think is really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as he's like speeding home, the lieutenant comes in and and his wife was like, "What kind of nurse did you send?" She like walked in the door and passed out.
That's why I don't practice nursing anymore. It's because I'd always roll up to my patient's room and then be like, I got a nap. Hold on. Done.
Um, but he calms down, which feels like maybe the wrong reaction here, right? Like,
He's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get a strange woman showed up at my house. I know this demon can possess other people. I specifically went looking for this woman. But now that she's here, I'm actually pretty fine about it, I guess. Oh no, wait, what's she doing with those garden shears?
We're poking a lot of fun. Guys, it's really important to leave your work at the door. I don't care if you're fighting a demon, you gotta separate those things. When you're home, you're home.
So true.
he takes that very seriously, and he's very calm, and she takes out the garden shears and in the Gemini voice is like, "I wanted you to see this," and like goes to snap his daughter's head off, but the grandma pulls her by her braid just in time. And it's actually like a really well choreographed scene. Like they probably had to shoot so many takes to get it perfect, but it's pretty perfect. Like the timing is really smooth.
It's the 90s. There's a chance they just went, yeah, don't let her go because then she'll die. So, like, do it for real.
Um, and that's when we see that there's another priest who's going to the hospital and is performing an exorcism on Damien. Uh, and the
What's up with this second priest? So we get one shot of him before and he's like petting a dead bird or something. Why? What does he do? Why is he? I know this is kind of like the first Exorcist where there is just like another priest that shows up and then Karis shows up and has to finish the demon off. But like that one was at least like he was like getting help from like a professional exorcist. This new dude is just kind of like, well, he's there now, I guess.
It feels like, in like modern movies where it's like, oh, there's a different version of this movie that they cut on the editing floor where you had way more personality. And it feels like he is from a different movie that we're supposed to be like, oh shit, dead bird guy's here. Oh
Right.
man, I loved when he beat the nun.
Yeah, maybe he's from Exorcist II.
I do not remember well enough to tell you.
I don't think so, because I think that they like very distinctly, the studio especially was like, forget about The Exorcist too. Um, so yeah, the second priest comes in and starts doing his exorcism, only for like him get like some of the only body horror that we get in this, where he's like pretty badly injured um during the exorcism. Then the lieutenant goes back to the hospital, realizing like, oh shit, uh I should probably be there during the exorcism now that I know that my daughter's safe. Even though, again, this demon was just in this old lady, so I don't know that I would have left her unattended with my family, personally. Um, but what do I know? I'm not a police chief nor an exorcist. Uh, so then Damien is fully possessed as the Gemini, and he's like tormenting and about to kill the lieutenant.
And it's all like presented as like a kind of like a dream or like vision. As a Naruto fan, my first thought, my first thought was like, this is a genjutsu. And go listen to Naruto Review 2, great podcast. But like, yeah, he's like, being psychically tortured. His like, it's really grody actually. Like the flesh starts peeling from his body, and there's just like this whole screed where I wrote down all of it. Where he starts like reciting this screed, which like seems important, but I don't think it's really important. But what he says is, the demon's just like, what do you believe in or whatever. And he says, I believe in death. I believe in disease. I believe in injustice and inhumanity and torture and anger and hate. I believe in murder. I believe in pain. I believe in cruelty and infidelity. I believe in slime and stink and every crawling, putrid thing. I believe in you. And then lightning shoots out of something and opens up a hole into hell, and all of the fucking dead victims crawl up out of the ground. It's wild.
So wild. We get some wild dream sequences in this movie, though. Like, we kind of skimmed over them, but then the priest wakes back up, even though we thought, like, oh, he might be dead. At least I did. And he's like, Damien, fight! And that's basically it, and that's enough for
Wait, the
Damien.
priest says that?
Yeah.
God, okay, sure.
I'm saying this movie ends again like there was another like 15 minutes, and it does feel like they're like, all right, you've had enough movie. Movie's done now.
Well, this'll come into my review, but like, truly, they didn't know how to land this plane once they got it in the air. I think this film suffers from like an excellent idea and a so-so execution, and that's why I liked it but didn't love it. But Damien regains his free will and then is like, shoot me! And
Yep.
then does some of the worst choreography I've ever seen, where he's like shimmying.
He doesn't want to make it easy on him. Shoot me, but like earn it.
And it then frees him from this possession, and later on we see the lieutenant watch the funeral, and we see that Damien died in 1975, which is like spooky and weird, and like leaves the door open for other supernatural shit that we actually won't see from this franchise for another 33 years.
Now, I did not like with that 1975. I was like, first of all, excellent Taylor Swift reference. Second of all, I didn't get it. I I did not understand other than like, oh, that's weird. That's all I took from it. Was this all a dream? Did none of this happen? Is this a snow globe in a sick child's bedroom?
No, my read on it was that like he was basically saying that Damien died functionally back in 1975.
Oh, that's so
And
okay. I'm a little
kind of like
dumb.
sparing him from like this dark outcome that he had of his like possessed life.
And
Right.
we're also all in agreement that there are two things that can stop a possession, two things that can officially end a possession, and that's an exorcism and a gun.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. So are you guys ready for some fun facts about this movie? I don't have as many as usual because whenever there's a like sequel and then a sequel of a sequel, they just kind of run out of fun things and end up being developmental hell stories.
Yeah, lay it on us.
So the director and writer of the original Exorcist novel did not want a sequel at all. But then he wrote a short story called Legion, which this is based off of. And Legion was originally a screenplay, but it got stuck in developmental hell, so he published it as a novel instead, and it became a bestseller. And then he said, okay, maybe we can make a movie out of this.
There we go.
And one of the stipulations that he had two, is that he had to direct the movie himself and it had to be filmed on location in Georgetown. And I'm just like, yes, this guy and I feel the same way.
Wait, the guy who wrote the short story, the Legion short story, is the same guy who directed William Peter Blatty?
Yeah.
Oh my god. See, buddy. So, like, here's the thing about writers. Very good in the medium of the written word. Not so much film.
Oh, it's because he went to Georgetown.
Yeah.
I did not I'm sorry. I'm sure we talked about that before, but that fills in a lot of like. I'm like, why you would not catch me doing that at Mason? Holy shit! Yeah.
He went to Georgetown and then GW, George Washington University. So he's like a real Washington D.C. guy. He died in Bethesda, Maryland. Like, yeah. So this film was a victim of that, for sure. It also was a victim of developmental hell from the studio, because he wanted it to be just called Legion and did not want it to be called Exorcist III, because he didn't want any association with the second Exorcist movie. But the studio was like, no, people love a sequel, even if it's to a bad movie. So we're going to call it Exorcist 3, and then sometimes you'll see it titled Exorcist 3 Legion. It's really unfortunate, because if you're going to give so much creative control, why not just give creative control over the name?
Right.
This reminds me, there was like a time period in more of like the late 90s, early 2000s, where movies that had absolutely nothing to do with another movie would just be given a sequel because the movie was terrible, so they thought it would sell. Like the American Psycho 2 with Mila Kunis, where it has no connection to American Psycho.
Well, and actually, that's what happened in screen testing. So they did some testing, and audiences were angry because do you want to know how many exorcisms are in Legion?
Oh shit.
None.
Yeah, well. You can't
So,
really name your movie The Exorcist if there's no exorcism in it.
nope. So they literally had to reshoot. They had to reshoot the last third of the movie and then add the priest in. And the
That makes
exorcism
sense.
scene cost $4 million.
Oh my god.
I mean, it was sick.
And this is an $11 million movie. So
Yeah. But listen, like, that's the thing about making shit, is that, like, if you are making a promise to your audience, you have to cash in on that promise. You title your movie The Exorcist III, there better be a goddamn exorcism in it. And, like, yeah, I mean, you hate to say it, like, you shouldn't have named the movie The Exorcist if you weren't gonna commit to the exorcism. So yeah, you know, I'm glad that they put the fucking money behind it.
But I'm glad that the dude straight up was like, I'm not calling it Exorcist, there's no exorcisms. And then the studio was like, no, we can slip the name in and no one will notice.
Yeah, that's really funny.
yeah. I mean, I just think it's like truly studio meddlement,
Right.
pure and simple. So this film references the Gemini Killer, which is based off of none other than the Zodiac Killer, who
I did think for a little bit of this movie, I mixed their names up, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is who they're saying the Zodiac Killer is.
Right.
well, the Zodiac Killer referenced The Exorcist in his killings.
Oh, they
Huh.
each other.
So it was like a really meta reference. And I think that kind of makes this film a little bit like, I don't know, a little bit more subversive to do that, to be like, look, we are not actually inspiring serial killers. Like, this evil is out there, but it's not, you're not going to get it from a movie, right? Like, especially one kind of as ridiculous as this.
That would kind of be like if God's Not Dead 7 was all about like these evil podcasters who like were attacking these good hardworking Christians. And then we watched that on our, which we would 100% we would watch that. It's just an interesting feedback loop there.
It is. And my final piece of fun facts is they actually made up the type of scissors that they use. Like, those are not found in actual hospitals.
Yeah,
no,
of
yeah?
course not. They don't use garden shears in hospitals.
Not unless
They
it was
made
the
it
Civil
for the
War.
film.
Right.
Yeah, I love you, Michael. That might be the worst Michael fun fact that we've ever had. You normally throw out heat with these, and you did with the last fact was about the Zodiac Killer.
Uh,
Oh man.
that's fair. But you never know. They use some weird shit in hospitals.
You know what? If Aaron had been like, yeah, when my time in the hospital, I had to, use garden shears to circumcise a baby, I'd be like, yeah, crazy stuff, medicine in America.
I have seen a baby get circumcised, fun fact, and I did immediately pass out afterwards.
How'd the baby do?
Baby was all right. Baby didn't love it, but he was conscious.
Yeah, babies tend to not love that.
Oh, you know what babies also aren't a huge fan of? The Exorcism 3. The Exorcist 3, not the Exorcism 3.
The Exorcism sounds like one of those like parody movies that they made in the mid 2000s, where like vampires suck or Meet the Spartans. We could make that happen.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, parody movies have really fallen off. It's time we get our little mitts on it.
We could make a great Christian parody movie. Like that would actually might be kind of funny.
Oh my god.
100%.
The problem is that the reviews would be like poignant. Man, you'd have to go to at least 3 vacation Bible schools to understand the jokes.
We could make it work. We'd put like little subtitles for all the normies. Little footnotes.
Do you think we could get Pastor Dave in there?
Yeah, that motherfucker loves being on screen. He wouldn't give a shit. We would tell him we were making fun of him and be like, whatever, as long as I'm on camera.
He plays Pastor David.
Yeah. Shout out to David R. White. Hope you're still cranking out those movies somewhere.
So this was definitely a film.
Yeah, I mean, like, I have complaints and like notes on what could have made it better, but I had fun. I watched it twice. Our recording schedule kind of got a little delayed, so you guys are going to be getting a belated spooky season. But yeah, I watched this 2 weeks ago now, and then watched it again today, and I feel good about how I spent my time.
Yeah, I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was a waste of time. I thought it was like kind of silly and fun, but like I enjoyed it.
I don't know. I think it's because I don't enjoy this genre to begin with. I'm also not like a big like procedural crime guy. So I feel like this is what like a general audience feels of like Ant-Man 2. I'm like, oh man, not for me.
Do we want to rate this?
Yeah, let's rate it.
I'm gonna give it 1 not tying your shoelace before going down a cobblestone step.
I'm gonna give it Pope 202 Victor the Third.
I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 Georgetown references because it's close to home.
All right, pretty good. Yeah. Michael, do you want to tease what's coming up on the next episode of Spooky Season?
Yeah, so next episode of Spooky Season, we are returning to my favorite movie studio, and we are going to be watching A24's Saint Maud. I have been dying to see this movie, and I actually have waited. Whoops, cut that out. It's not A24, it just should be.
It feels like A24.
Um,
It's not
but
24.
apparently not. Uh, I just fact checked myself in real time and it's not. But anyway, I've been dying to see this movie. It feels right up our alley and I think is going to be weird and fun and like crazy to talk about. I just can't wait.
Yeah, I've already seen it, and I think it'll be a very interesting conversation.
It will be a talk.
When you are not listening to our conflicting views on horror movies, where else can we be found on the internet?
I'm Greene. I'm Greene. Oh man, my brain is filled with mucus. Sorry, guys. I'm at Greene History on Twitter.
I'm at Greenlight on Blue Sky and on Threads, and I'm at that Greenlight on Twitter as long as that's still a thing. I have a feeling it won't be much longer.
Yeah, it seems to get closer to death every day. I'm at Aaron SXL on Twitter, at AA Voigt on Blue Sky. You can listen to the other podcast that I do with my friend Layla. That's at Mortified Pod on Tumblr. I have a YouTube channel that's at AA Voigt. You can listen to my video about Heart, the City Beneath, and Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer if you like spooky horror stuff. And I also re-released my tabletop game, I Drew You Agent Serpent. And there's some community copies out if you're interested in that sort of thing. So go ahead and check that stuff out as well. But yeah, we will continue with our spooky season. But if you're sad that this exorcism maybe wasn't as coherent as you wanted it to be, just remember that it is okay to cry because even Jesus wept. We'll see you all next time.